Hi everyone, my name is Nitya and you are at my Flosstube channel, Daybreak Stitchery. This is a channel all about cross stitch and a little bit of knit and crochet today too. It's the end of March, so this is when, usually at the end of each month, I check in, kind of a once a month check in and show you what I've been stitching on. I missed February, so now I'm catching up with 2 months of stitching, so I have an enormous stack of stuff to show you. And I think I might just get into it. I want to welcome you if you're new. My pronouns are she, her. I live just outside of the Chicago area, and if we're talking indigenous land, that's the land that was considered part of the Council of the Three Fires Ojibwe, Odawa, and Potawatomi. I'm helping out with fundraising for MMIW G2S this month, so good to be in touch with our native land connections. And I want to thank you for coming back, and thank you if you're new. I think I've picked up some new subscribers thanks to a few shout outs from Cross Stitch the Globe, thank you, and Charlie Feathers, thank you too. And then I know some of you found me through the group chat with my friends Maryam and Sarah and Julie. So however you found me, you're welcome. Hope you see something you like here. I'm just going to get right into it. We have so much stitching to look at today. Okay, so first one up, we're going way back to February here. So this is my stitching for Black History Month. Although Black History 365, we try to stitch as many diverse voices as we can in our community. So this pattern is a freebie by Sassafras Stitches, and it's available on the Sassy Jack's Stitchery website. And this one, it had been on my radar like back when. So I'm in my 4th year of Flosstube, and right when I started, I feel like people were stitching on this a few years ago. I remember hearing about it, but it was put back on my radar when I was listening to the Fiber Talk podcast episode in February. It was an interview with Stitches of Heritage, Deb, who is Stitches of Heritage on Instagram, and it was one of the best stitchy interviews ever. Run out and listen to it. I'll link all of this information that I mentioned, I'll link below in the description box. But Deb is a stitcher in our American stitching community who has a voice that just has to be heard. So listen to that podcast, like pause me and go listen to that. And in the first 2 minutes of that episode, they referenced this pattern. And so I actually paused the podcast episode, went and downloaded it real quick, just used Stash to kit it up. So these are not the called for colors. But I wanted to stitch on it while I was listening to the episode, so that's what I did. So this is a mix of DMC and Cosmo. What's happened is that I have some Cosmo that I picked up last year when I was in Iowa. I was at a quilt shop in Iowa. Is it Quilter's Cupboard? I'm not remembering what the shop is, but I'll put their name below. And they carry, a lot of quilt shops carry Cosmo flosses. So it was my first time actually looking at Cosmo in person. And so I picked up a bunch. I have not organized it. I've gone through and I'm slowly going through my craft stuff, organizing things, and floss organization is almost under control, but I have this baggie of Cosmo flosses that I haven't organized, and then also I've been de-kitting projects, so I have random DMCs that I need to put on bobbins and put in their boxes. So I have this bag of flosses, and it's been kind of nice actually, because for several of my projects here, I've just been randomly choosing colors or just like pouring out the bag and looking at some colors and real quick picking, and that's how I've been kitting up some recent projects. So that's what happened here. So I did not have the called for DMC. There are 4 or 5 skin tones that make up this pattern. So I used Cosmo. I picked up skin tones in Cosmo last summer too, and I feel like their range is a little bit different. There's a little bit more distinction from color to color. So this is my first chance to experiment with that, and I think it worked out pretty well. The only thing I had to fix is that There's the glare of the light here. That's why it's the lightest tone is like the light shining on her face. And this Rosa Parks. It's Rosa Parks. This is a pretty well-known picture. When you Google Rosa Parks, you're going to see it. Like this photo comes out a lot. So it was charted and made into this pattern. But anyway, so the light tone was actually all over this side of her face, and it just looked like too much of a light reflection. So what I did is I stitched it, but then over part of it you can kind of see there's a medium tone there. I took one strand of the next darker tone and did another round of X's over it with just the one strand. So I feel like that created at least a little bit more of a gradient. So anyway, I think it looks okay. When you hold it far away especially, I think you can see the tone's a little bit better. But so this is the quote. I felt determination cover my body like a quilt on a winter night. It's a great quote. So this is on Picture This Plus Jade. I have a ton of jade. I have a huge piece of jade, like almost a yard of jade. So I'm able to slice off bits of that to do stitching. So I kind of like this, how it's maybe an unconventional color. I think I've seen people stitch it on like neutral fabrics, but I like the idea of choosing something different, brighter color. I stitch with a lot of brighter color fabrics. So anyway, that was again Rosa Parks by Sassafras Stitches, and it's a free pattern on the Sassy Jacks Stitchery website. And the podcast was Fiber Talk. It's the February episode with Deb from Stitches of Heritage. Okay, next we're doing finishes because I actually finished some things past couple months, so that's finished. Next, I worked on We Go On. This is by D's 20 Stitches, and I think I snagged the last paper copy last year when I signed up for this year's Stitch for Pride Stitch Along. There were just a couple of these paper copies left, so I got that, and it's a two-parter. It comes with this small as well. So I worked on this one. I love it. I, of course, was thinking of Next Benedict when I stitched on this. And here's what it looks like. So this is on a fabric, I don't know the fabric, but the floss is Sulky. Let me tell you what color it is. Sulky 4022 was this one. And it's a variegated, as you can see, it's a variegated floss. And I'm straying away from, I haven't been really liking the effect of like stripes. But you know how when you stitch rows with variegated floss, it gets kind of stripy? I'm not a fan of it. I look at it afterwards and I think it's just not, I'm not drawn to it. So what I tried to do on this one instead is I would, if I was stitching in a part like this, I'd stitch 3 stitches diagonally in one direction and then come back 3 or maybe 4 stitches and then go back again 4 stitches, come back again. So I do these like little patches. I was almost picturing like a paintbrush going back and forth, just 3 or 4 stitches at a time. And sometimes it wouldn't be diagonal. Sometimes I'd go up and down or right to left. And so it created these little patches of color, which I think I like that better. It looks like with all of this negative stitching here, it almost looks like it's a mottled fabric or something behind it. So I love this pattern so much that I started another one. I'm doing a second one. So this one is in a Sulky, let me look at the color. It's a red, it's 169. Sulky 169, and I'm loving this one too. So this is just it's a monochromatic color, so no color changes to be thought about here. So I want to give a shout out to Jennifer, the Curly Stitcher, on Flosstube and on Instagram. They're doing she's doing a free fundraiser. No, that's not true. It's a fundraiser series. You pay for all the proceeds go to the following 2 causes in honor of Next Benedict. So one of the if you buy the patterns, I'm all scattered about this. Jennifer, the Curly Stitcher, go to their profile and there's a link to their maybe Gumroad or Ko-Fi page, and they are selling patterns. It's a series called Birds and Bandanas. It's what it is. It's little birds wearing bandanas, and all of the proceeds go to the following 2 organizations. in honor of Next Benedict. So one is Freedom, Oklahoma, and one is Outreach, Denton. So that's a great cause. I need to get on that too. I haven't done it yet, but it's so wonderful. Jennifer's basically designing for charity, which I think is awesome. So thanks, Jennifer. And I'll link it's the Curly Stitcher. So you'll find them on Instagram and on Flosstube, but I'll link them below in case you need that. Okay, next up is pattern by Hib Stitches. Let me make sure I get the orientation right. Here we go. So this is called Soul of My Soul, and it's a charity pattern created by Hib Stitches to provide relief to everything. That's all the Palestinians that are suffering right now, going through this genocide in Gaza and the West Bank. And I'm horrified by what's going on. I mean, I'm on here, I'm trying to be light and joyful with you, and I enjoy stitching and everything, but I cannot erase from the back of my mind what is going on. I feel like so horrible about what is going on right now. I'm contacting my reps all the time. Please find something to do to help the situation. Is it learning about Palestinian culture? Is it stitching to trees and donating? Is it contacting your reps? Is it all of the above? We got to keep doing something here. Keep standing up and saying something. So this pattern is by Hib Stitches, and Hib Stitches is part of a whole group of stitchers who've been doing charity stitching for Palestine. So this pattern is called Soul of My Soul, and it's a reference to little Reem. Let me think. It's Khaled Naben, I think is his name. There's a grandfather, Palestinian grandfather, who is very, very close to his two grandkids. Reem, a little girl, a tiny little girl, toddler, and I think her brother's name is Tarek. And when one of the refugee camps was bombed by the occupation forces, all of the houses in the neighborhood collapsed, and so his grandkids died. They were killed. So one of the things, he's done a lot of interviews talking about what's going on there, and what he refers to Reem as the soul of my soul. So this is in Arabic calligraphy, and this is using a feather motif. This feather motif is probably from Tirazane Initiative. I know a lot of the charity stitchers for Palestine are drawing from that encyclopedic resource for Palestinian motifs, and then they charted this calligraphy in Arabic. It says Soul of My Soul. So this is on Color and Cotton Driftwood, and it's using two colors of Cosmo. One's like a dark forest green, and one's like kind of a cloudy teal. And those colors are 984 and 538, in case you're interested. So I don't remember what I donated to. My go-to causes for Palestine, UNRWA, definitely, since they've been defunded by us. Heal Palestine and the PCRF, Palestinian Children's Relief Fund. So I don't remember which of those. And the Doctors Without Borders is a good one, and the Red Crescent Society too. All good organizations to donate to. I'm upset about what's going on there. We're not going to talk about it over and over again, but I'm doing things, and I hope you are too. Okay, next up is... Oh, it's the Stitch for Pride Stitch Along. This is the February installment. So this is a tribute to Kainde Wiley, and this is by Dee's 20 Stitches. They're doing a year-long Stitch Along, which you had to join back in November or December. So it's not available to join right now, but what will happen is Dee will be releasing each month's installment eventually as small patterns. So you can pick this up eventually. Just get on their newsletter list and they'll let you know when it's available. So this was actually one motif. It was just one of these was the monthly installment, but I loved it so much I stitched it 3 times. So it's a tribute to Kainde Wiley. So each month, the whole year, the Stitch Along, Stitch for Pride 2024, and it's a tribute to artists who are in, part of LGBTQIA2S plus artists, so queer artists. And so this one is a tribute to Kainde Wiley, who's an American artist, African-American artist, and I had to stitch it 3 times because the more I read about Kainde Wiley, it was all about his paintings are all about view and perspective on multiple levels. So like he usually does portraits that are in the style of old European masters, except the subjects of his portraits are black folks from all over the world. So it's about us as the viewer looking at something new, a new voice in a painting, but it's also about the person in the portrait looking back at us. And it's also about like who are we seeing, who questioning kind of who have we been looking at in art through the ages, and who should we be looking at and who can we be looking at. So the eye motif in here, I thought it was really important to show. So two of the eyes are kind of blending in with the background. They're being watched. And then one of the eyes is looking back at us. We're the ones being watched. So this is with a mix of Cosmo and DMC. And these are from the bag, the unorganized bag. I just picked colors. And I looked at a couple paintings of Kehinde Wiley's and just looked at how bright he uses a lot of floral botanical motifs with super bright colors. So that's what I used. So I just repeated. It's the same colors on the same bits of the motif. The only thing is I changed the central eye to skin color and like a more human looking eye than the ones that fit into the background. So that's the Stitch for Pride 2024, and it's the tribute to Kehinde Wiley. Okay, another finish. This is by Darling and Whimsy, and it's, what's it called? Something Good, I think it's what it's called. And this is the pattern that gets released only during Marathon for MMIW, which is a charity fundraiser campaign raising money for the Coalition to Stop Violence Against Native Women. And so they make this pattern available once a year and the proceeds go to that organization. So I picked it up this year. It's been available in the past and then closed availability until the next charity season. So now I picked it up this time around. So these are all classic colorworks from Stash. I didn't tell you. Let me tell you real quick. The fabric on this is Picture This Plus Mystic. It shows up a lot. I have a few pieces and I use it on a number of different things. This one is an XJU design. It's Something Squirrel. I saw the tag on the floor before. I don't remember where I put it. It's squirrel something is the color on this. And it's actually, there you go. It's more of that color. It's like a orangey brown. And the classic colorworks I'm using on it are Avocado, Deep Blue Sea, and Camouflage. So Deep Blue Sea for the text, Avocado for the bright green door, and then Camouflage for the trees. And then Cosmo 927 I don't know if you're seeing, there's a tiny bit of backstitch to create the wood panels on the door. It's a quote from Lord of the Rings. So there's a little hobbit house. So that's that one. And then believe it or not, I have one more finish to show you. So that is 100% inspired by Carly, who is Carly M on Flosstube and Veggie Stitches on Instagram. They do a quarterly Flosstube, and I'm just in love with it. It's a drop everything and catch up with Carly kind of situation when their Flosstube comes out. And let's hold it right side up. Carly had stitched something for their sweetheart, which was this freebie by the Primitive Hair called Be Mine. And I just looked at it and I thought, hey, I have a sweetie too. I'm going to stitch something for them. So my plan for this is to use it I didn't bring it down here to show you. But a few years ago, I made, so my partner's name is Steve. If you've been around for a while, you know I talk about Steve a lot. But I had made Steve a book out of a deck of cards. It was like an old Pinterest idea. And then how many cards are in a deck? 50, 52, 54, however many. On the cover, it said, 50 things I love about you. And then I had a closing title page and a cover page. And on each card in the deck, I had printed out and pasted something I love about him. I had 50 ideas for things I love about him, and there's one on each page. And then I had hole punched the sides of each card and bound it with a ribbon so it made a little book. So I'm working on a second one, and it's going to be like 50 song lyrics about love. So I thought, oh, this could be a cool, maybe I'll make this like the cover page for that or put it in, but I think it's a little bit too big. I don't know if it'll work. So we'll wait and see how that one goes. But anyway, I just loved how lacy it looked, and I love the script on it, how it looks like ink, ink writing. And so what is this? This is DMC 310. It's 1 strand over 1. And this fabric is a printed, so see on the back, it's white. It's printed on one side on the front. And it's by, who does this? The Primitive Hair does printed fabrics. And this is Ancient Stone. And I have a few other projects on this piece, so this will come back in a little bit. You'll see it. It's 30 count fabric, and I think, who was just talking about this? Maybe Cross Stitch the Globe was talking about this? Because they've been doing a lot of like educational videos on like stitchy related things. Anyway, I think I'm under the impression that Primitive Hair sources their own fabrics, so it's a different size count than the average. So this is a 30 count, and 30 count is excellent for 1/1 stitching with DMC. It's not too crowded. Like when you get multiple stitches all together in a bunch, it's not, a struggle to pull the thread through the weave. And this fabric, you're not seeing it now because it'll come back in a little bit. I've started a whole bunch of different projects on it. And some of them are with like full coverage kind of things on there. So it works great. So I'll bring this back. It's Ancient Stone by Primitive Hair. And Carly's Flosstube I'll link below too. You'll love them just as much as I do. I do have crochet finishes, which I'll show you really quick, and then we have tons more stitching to look at too. So I made a baby blanket for a colleague and then totally forgot to take pictures of it, but I can give you an idea of what it looks like because I'm making another one for her as well. So it's basically this. This is a back post square pattern, and it's on the, hang on a second here, mooglyblog.com website. I couldn't find the exact pattern because this is a pattern I've used many, many, many years ago, and I had it PDF printed from the website, and now I can't find the actual page on the blog that has this pattern, but you'll search for it's Moogly Blog, I'll link below, and it's a back post square is what it's called. And so I'm making one huge blanket by repeating the actual square pattern is just this right here. It stops with this white circle. So on my colleague's baby blanket, I had done a bunch of squares that look just like that and pieced them all together. This blanket, I'm just going to keep going on the square. So I'm continuing the same repeats on every row, and I'm just going to make it one larger blanket. This is really wonderful yarn to work with. I have it in stash, and I'm trying to use it up, so it's going well so far. It's Sirdar Snuggly, which I think is a UK brand. It's kind of washed out everywhere I hold it up, but there we go. So it's sort of like a heathery pink and then a bright orange and white is the color combo. And it creates kind of a unique texture on the back too. It looks like this. So it kind of looks nice on both sides actually. Yeah, so that's what that looks like, and I'll keep that up and I'll show you that one. I'll either take a picture of or I'll show you before I give it away. Okay. I do have a couple more finishes I can show you that are crochet and knit, but I kind of feel like I've shown you these before. So a couple years ago, I did an extra video where I was just showing crochet and knit stuff, standalone crochet and knit, like no cross stitch in that video. And I don't know if I showed you these as part of it, but I've been reorganizing my craft space, and I just decided to like cast off some different projects that I still had cast on and just call it a day and call them a finish. So one of them was this scarf pattern. Now I won't have any of the information on this. I didn't save anything. It's just all from like boxes of my knitting and crochet stuff. So this is a knit pattern for a scarf. You can see that on one side I have a big garter stitch rib. I made up this pattern. I basically know knit and purl stitches. So if you know knit and purl stitches, you can make up a whole wide variety of different textures in knitting. It's really easy. Once you get the handle on those two basic stitches, you can do a lot with it. So I created a garter stitch band, like border here, and then I was alternating like rows of, how did I do it? Oh, here's the front. Let me show you the front. So rows of stockinette stitch, which is just all knits on one side, and then you purl them on the back, and then an alternate, like a band of that stockinette, followed by a band of garter, and then a wider band of stockinette and a band of garter. So I just went, kind of repeated that. I didn't count how many rows were in each band. I sort of estimated it. And then when I found it, when I was reorganizing here, emptying out some boxes back from when we moved, I still have boxes I haven't unpacked of craft stuff. It was still cast on. And I was just like, you know what? I just stood there like right then. And I just casted it off. I'm like, I'm calling this a day. It's done. I have some ends I have to weave in here, and that gap will be sealed up right there. But so it does not have the same band, garter stitch band on the other end of the scarf, but I just didn't care. I just wanted to finish it up. So this yarn is not a variegated yarn. This is two colors of two different yarns that I used together. I stitched them as one. So it shows up variegated. It has a nice effect. So I recommend that 100%. If you are a knitter or a crocheter, hold two colors together and use them as one. And you create all kinds of interesting color variation. You can make it your own variegated yarn. So that's what happened here. It's some kind, it feels like some kind of cotton blend, but I'm not sure about it. That I'm going to finish up, weave in the ends, and then put it in my outerwear box so I can actually use it. And then same thing on this one I think I've showed in that knitting video. This again is knitting, and same thing. I just used the stitches that I know and made my own pattern. I knitted with two colors together, holding them together, so it creates like this kind of variegated look. And this is all garter stitch, except in one band I would do knit stitch. So it looks kind of like an offset band of stockinette amongst, you know, all of this kind of more textured garter stitch. So it just looks like that the whole way through. And then I switched colors. So I had for this one, I had a whole bunch of this neutral color. I think it's just like a Lion's brand acrylic. I think that's what is going on here. Or it could be a Lion's brand, like a fisherman's wool, that kind of thing. Just a neutral color. But then I had all these skeins of other random colors that I needed to use up. So I would just do the same pattern, and then I switched whenever. So like the neutral color stayed the same the whole time, but I added, as soon as one of my random colors wore out, I would switch it out. So that's what it looks like. It's hard to hold up all at once, but you're kind of seeing all the different colors there. And it looks like that. So that too, I'm going to weave in the ends. We're calling it a day on that one. And then I actually found a finished scarf in my box of knits I was organizing. So this is also a knit scarf. Same thing. I just used knit and purl stitches. So how did it go? Oh, so I alternate. I think this is what's happening here if I'm looking at it. So I would do like 5 or 6 stitches of stockinette, and then 5 or 6 stitches of garter, and then 5 or 6 stitches of stockinette. So I was alternating garter and stockinette stitch, and so it creates this kind of ribbed pattern. And every place where the stitches changed, it creates lines, for these vertical lines too. And this was using Patton's Croy sock yarn. So these colors, it's all these colors are just one skein, and it variegates because if you're knitting socks, it creates stripes on the socks. But if you're stitching a scarf, it creates variegation as well, different color stripes. So that's a perfectly good scarf that's just been sitting in a box all this time. So That's going in the outerwear box too. So we will be plenty warm come next winter. Okay. We're going to keep going. All right. So what's up next? Works in progress. Showed you the start. Oh, I'll show. I do have more. We're still kind of in finishes here. This is 30 minutes in. We're still working on finishes. This may never happen again. So let's appreciate the fact that I have so much to say about finishes. So I framed my Where Flowers Bloom. This is just a store-bought frame, and I got it sorted out and framed because I sent it in to a judged competition. NAN, it's the National Academy of Needle Arts. And I decided I didn't know anything about it except for it was mentioned at the Guild, the Windy City chapter of the Embroiderers Guild of America. I'm a member. And I had shown my finished piece. I had brought it to a meeting to show. And one of the members said, oh, you'd think about submitting this to NAN. The National Academy of Needle Arts does a show every spring called the Exemplary. So it's any type of needle art. So they have people who do beading, cross stitch and needlepoint. I can't think of any others right now, but all kinds of other gold work and different things. So I decided to send it in, and I'm not sure if I will do that again. And here's why. I'll just be more thoughtful about it. Here's why. So it's in Michigan. So again, just like when I submit stuff to my state fair, I live too far away to take it in person. So you have to mail it in. So you're paying for the shipping to have it sent there and the shipping back, which is okay because if I can fit it into basically a 12 by 9 frame, it will fit in the standard weight flat rate shipping box, like the largest size flat rate shipping box, it'll fit. So at least it's a reduced rate there. But then you have to put in postage to have them ship it back to you. So you're paying for shipping twice. And then this was a judged competition. They have a special category every spring. So they have all different categories like cross stitch that's an original design, cross stitch that's somebody else's design, and I can't think of what else. There are different themes, but then they have a special annual theme every year that changes out. So this year's theme was women who are heroes, and so my contact at the guild said, "Wow, this would be great for the exemplary special challenge." So that's when I sent it in, and I wanted it to be judged. You pay $25 to have it submitted into the competition. And when I submit pieces to the state fair, I'll show you what I get. So at the state fair, when you submit pieces, it's either $2 or $4 a piece. It's very inexpensive to submit a piece to the state fair. Again, you have to pay shipping. I live 3 hours from my state capital, so I have to pay to ship it. But at least the submission fee is affordable. And what happens is you get a tag with your entry item number that gets attached to your piece. Oh, it's going to show up washed out, so you won't see it. Hang on. So this tag gets put on your piece, and then on the back of it, there are usually guild members who judge it. It'll be too washed out. You won't be able to see it, but there's handwriting on the back of the tag, so they write a little personalized message, which I love because it makes it seem like, wow, somebody who has a gift with stitching, who's talented, who's considered a professional, maybe certified, has actually looked at your stitching and they've provided feedback on it. And sometimes it's useful, like, think about doing this next time, here's what it is, or sometimes it's complimentary, and I like both. Because the first time I submitted a piece to the state fair many years ago, and the first time I saw that, I thought, wow, this makes me feel connected to another human being who does stitching. Like this person took time to write a little note. Now, here's what I got back from the exemplary from Nan. A pre-printed card, no note or anything. So my initial reaction to this was I paid $25 and I just got like a thank you for participating card. It would have been nice to see something personalized written on the back, especially if you're paying for it and paying for shipping for it. So I would say if you live in Michigan or nearby, like driving distance, I think probably the real value of that experience, the exemplary experience, is to actually go see all of the pieces on display. And I missed out on that because I'm so far away. So I don't know. For right now, probably the exemplary is not for me. But if, once I'm retired and actually I can actually travel during that exhibit and go see it, maybe I'll consider actually dropping a piece off. And they do they have a week-long event, I think, or maybe an extended weekend or something where they do like classes. The National Academy of Needle Art puts on like workshops and things like that along with this show. They hold it in a hotel and people gather. It's a gathering space. But for me, as a participant from a distance, it was just okay. I also, they have social media, and I like refreshing the page all weekend being like, I wonder if I'll catch a picture of my piece on display. And they only posted like one picture from the whole weekend. It's like, I'd love to see some of the pieces on display. So I messaged them on Facebook. I was like, I'm not going to be able to make it to the show. Do you think you could send me a picture of what my piece looks like on the table? So they did send that to me. But it just feels like, give me some out of this. It just felt like I wasn't getting what I paid for on that. So we'll see. In the future, we'll see on that. So anyway, this is finished now and I can put it up in my home, which is what I've been wanting to do with it. This is Where Flowers Bloom. If you've watched my old Flosstubes, I've talked about this. It's Where Flowers Bloom. It's by Hands Across the Sea Samplers, and there's supposed to be a huge house right here, but I don't enjoy stitching houses. So since the message is about hope, I stitched the names of some people who give us hope. I like the idea of this being on display in a show, and like maybe if there are names that people were unfamiliar with, maybe it just gave people a chance to look up some new names. So that's kind of cool, I guess. Okay, moving along. Let's get into some whips. I have a whole bunch. So this March, we're moving into March, everybody. March is Asian American Heritage Month. And so I'm stitching on a whole bunch of Maryam's pieces for hashtag Stitch Asia. It's a hashtag started by Abby, who's Abby Bella Stitch on Instagram and Flosstube. And they've been doing a very cool thing, which is they've been shouting out on Instagram all of these Asian designers and Flosstubers and cross stitchers. So you can just kind of diversify who you're following and who you're learning from. So this is by Maryam Marumi Crafts. It's called Afshan Sampler. It's on a piece of 18 count Aida. It's moss by Color and Cotton, and it's using DMC 35. And I did a little bit on this. I've been working a lot of these horizontal lines, so that's what I've been spending a lot of my time doing. It's just stitching lines. So this will continue to be a work in progress. It stitches up pretty fast. I'm using 2 strands of DMC 35. So yeah, it works up pretty quick. So whenever I get a chance, I'll just put in a strand and get a little bit more of the horizontal lines in. Okay, next up, oh gosh, I won't remember all the details on this. So this is a pattern by the Artsy Housewife, and it's Golden Delicious. And it's a huge apple tree with golden delicious like yellow green apples. And again, there's a house here, which I'm replacing with a quote by an American woman named Helen Hunt Jackson. She was alive in the late 1800s, and she was a poet. So I'm taking a line from one of her poems, which says, "The trees in apple orchards with fruit are bearing down." It's a part of a poem all about autumn. And so I'm just taking the line that's about the apple orchards and putting that in. I'm a little worried because I'm not sure it's going to fit. We will proceed and just see what happens. And I don't remember what font I was using. So, this is the font from Rosa Parks, actually. I think that's what I'm doing. It's the font from the little quote, the determination quote by Rosa Parks. It was in a font, so I'm reusing those letters to font. That's what it is, because it's really small. 6, 1, 2, 3, 4. They're only 5 stitches tall, so I think it should be good for fitting into that space. So we will see how that goes. This is part of a stitch along started by me, Maryam, Sarah, and Julie. Some of my stitchy friends, we call this Artsy Fartsy Sal, and it's to stitch on any artsy housewife pattern. So each of us is working on one, and we try to Zoom together once a month, just have a stitchy chat and catch up. And so the February chat, I was working on this one. So this is on a Bee Stitch Me fabric. I think it's Cinnamon by Bee Stitch Me. And the flosses are all from Stash. I kitted it up completely from Stash. I tried to use the picture to kind of match up colors, but some colors I just chose randomly too. And so far I'm okay with what's going on here. So that this again is Golden Delicious by the Artsy Housewife. Okay, next up, you haven't seen in ages, because I didn't work on this in 2023 at all. This is by 2x2 Stitch Art, and it's just called Flower Sampler. And it's actually a long band of flowers, and I'm only doing a small part of it. It'll just be like, this is the width of it right here, just doing a little square. And this is again on 18 count moss by Color and Cotton. And I'm using, actually the color palette for this is not a color palette I chose, but it's a color palette I love. It's by Ink Circles, and it's the Sulky Pack that goes with Circular Logic, which is an Ink Circles pattern. They have a Sulky Pack that goes with it, and it's all these beautiful autumn tones. So I just looked at them and I thought, oh, let me just see what I can do with those colors, but on a different pattern. So that's what's happening here. So for each new motif that I add, I'm picking a color from the pack and just trying it out and see what happens. So 2x2 Stitch Art has really huge designs on Etsy, and I'm usually stitching just parts of them. They're just too big. Too big to finish in any realistic amount of time. Okay, Fruits of Plenty by Modern Folk Embroidery. So this is my Embroiderers Guild of America Windy City chapter. In our chapter, we do an annual challenge, which is where everyone picks a challenge piece and you just try to make progress on it. So this is mine. It's the Fruits of Plenty Stitch Along. You know this one. We all know this one. This is like my 5th or 6th start on it. But I'm finally on a roll, I think, and it's looking good. This, I've been stitching on it at every guild meeting. So in March, actually first week, early in March, we actually attended, Maryam and I both went together, our chapter's annual retreat, which was really fun. It was a lot of fun. And so I took this to work on at that retreat. So I worked on this border here and then this part in here, bringing that in. So this is on a Fiber on a Whim Heather 18 count Ada, and it's using a Cosmo floss, and I don't remember what the color is. I'll look it up and I'll leave it in the notes. But it's basically a dark purple on a light purple fabric, purple on purple. And I'm really enjoying it. It looks very dark from far away, doesn't it? It almost looks like it could be a DMC 310 or something from far away. So I will just keep chipping away at it. The nice thing about the challenge piece for the guild is that not everybody finishes their piece, so it's not like a stressful, pressured experience. It's a make progress experience, and then we each kind of share. You sort of remember what everybody's working on, or you're reminded of what everybody's chosen as your challenge piece, because as you walk around at the meetings, you see everybody working on things, and it just gives you something nice to talk about together, and people check in on your progress and things like that. I will say, the retreat, if you're not a member of the Embroiderers Guild of America, it might be worth looking into. I know you have to pay an annual fee. Let me get a sip of coffee here. My throat is going sore. You have to pay an annual fee, but I feel like it's been very much worth it so far. One, you get a copy of Needle Arts Magazine, which has some interesting articles and write-ups in there. But the bigger thing I've really experienced in the past 2 months, especially going to our chapter's retreat, is that I think the EGA is taking really big steps. They are having conversations at the national level about being more inclusive and about diversifying their membership, and having real conversations about whether chapters are creating an environment that feels welcoming to all people. And it's really nice to see groups that are genuinely having these conversations. When you join as a member, you get access to a vast video library and also like lots of needlepoint patterns, all kinds of, you get access to a lot of materials. And one of the videos was what they're going to do is have a series of talks with presidents from different chapters from all over the country, EGA chapters, about membership and what are they doing to help people feel inclusive. I feel like our chapter is really good with that. Like right from the first meeting, I felt like I was accepted, even though there's not much in terms of skin color, ethnic background. There's not a whole lot of diversity yet in our chapter, but I feel like it's going the right, good things are happening for that. But it is very diverse in terms of, there's lots of queer members of our community. There's a neurodiversity in our community. Lots of diversity in like what we stitch. There's no one's made to feel embarrassed. Like I do count and cross stitch. Everybody else is doing some like really complicated needlepoint. Like we have very talented stitchers, certified stitchers in our guild, and nobody makes you feel like less than because of what you do or who you are. And they're having these conversations at the national level about, are we being welcoming to lots of different types of people? So check out your EGA chapter. And guess what? If you don't have one near you, join ours, the Windy City chapter, because we do hybrid meetings. And if you know me through Flosstube, or if I get to know you and you want to join a hybrid meeting, Maryam and I were actually talking about this. Like if any of you want to join our chapter, we'll sit on the Zooms with you. So what happens is, even when we go to the in-person monthly meeting, it's at a public library in Chicago. Some people will bring their devices and then join the Zoom, the hybrid part of the meeting, and so they're able to chat with the people who are at home. So I'm happy to do that if you feel like you want to join a guild and learn about some different things going on, but you don't feel like you have a home chapter or aren't sure. You want to have someone who you know already, feel free to join ours, and and let me know, and I'll bring my device with me and chat with you while we're at the meetings. I'll show you something cool I picked up. So this is a finished piece by Sandy. Sandy is a member of our chapter, the Windy City chapter of the Guild, Embroiderers Guild of America, who passed away early in 2023, and she and her partner have set aside, they basically designated a whole bunch, like her stash, she did hundreds and hundreds of finished pieces, all going to the guild. And so they were begging people at the retreat, please take some of Sandy's pieces, finish them, frame them, make use of them. And what I've probably looked at 200 of Sandy's pieces, and what they were saying at the retreat was that her partner, Sandy passed away, and then her partner, she's been working with the guild to try to get pieces over to the guild to donate, and the partner said that she has been so depressed and so sad about Sandy's, the loss of her partner, that she has barely even scratched the surface of looking through Sandy's stitching. So like these 200-ish pieces and all of her there was a fundraiser sale at the retreat of a lot of Sandy's stuff, her stash, to make money for the guild chapter. It's barely scratching the surface of what she has to share with us. So I picked up this piece. I loved the kind of geometric tones in it, and I don't know if can you see on the inside border right here, there's a very cool same color on same color stitching going on. So this is like a neutral colored linen, and it's this like an ecru color, and then there's like an ecru color cross stitch pattern going all along it. Doesn't that look amazing? It makes me want to try that. I want to try to stitch. I think part of why it shows up so well is because this linen, it looks like a 28 count linen because it's so sheer, and then because these stitches are so dense. that fell in the back. I can't tell how many strands she used on it. And it's at least 2 strands, maybe 3. This texture is really thick and tapestry-like, and then against this lighter fabric, the kind of sheer fabric, it really shows up really clearly. I don't know what this pattern is. If you know what it is, let me know. I'm curious to know what it is. But I'll be framing this and putting this up at home. I just love it. Okay. More whips. So, I restarted in my last video I showed you that I'm joining a stitch along with Anita, who's the Violet Stitcher and like Dragon Stitcher extraordinaire. And, Anita started the Year of the Dragon sale, which now I understand, I think Huga Stitcher is also working on. The more the merrier, right? It's however people join it. It's great. We're celebrating dragons this year. So, this probably goes this way. Anita and I are selling Here Be Dragons by Modern Folk Embroidery. And I showed it to you last month, and I had stitched it on a fabric. I'd started it on a fabric that was the only fabric I had available for me to play around with while I was traveling over winter break. So I tried to start it on a fabric, but I didn't leave enough margins on it. So now I'm restarting it with proper margins. So this is on Picture This Plus Ancient. It's an 18 count, and I think it's perfect. Like this kind of ancient it feels like the right kind of fabric name to use for a dragon's pattern. This is DMC 798. I think it stands out really well, and it even kind of blends in because this ancient has like blue-gray tones on it, so I think it'll be perfect match for it. So this has been good fun to do so far, and I'll keep that going. Anita, I'm sure Anita has a video coming up soon, so we'll see how Anita's progress is too. Anita's using different purples. I think the last time I checked, it was like a more purpley toned dragon, and mine will be blue. I got to a little bit of the border, and then I started one of the lettering bits here, parts of the letters. Okay, next, anyone can join that sale, by the way, and definitely check out Anita's channel. Mostly full coverage, a lot of full coverage stitching, which is very cool to look at. It's very different than what I do, so I love to see that. And tons of dragons. Like stitching dragons is the norm for Anita, so if you like dragon and fantasy stitching, that'd be a great channel to follow. Okay, next up is 1 Dozen Quakers. This is by Rosewood Manor, and I'm joining EJ from the Sunshine Stitchers, who started a stitch along on this last December. The Bake Me a Quaker sale. It's 1 dozen Quakers and then some, so it's a baker's dozen of Quakers. So I'm stitching mine on a yellow tote bag that I picked up at Michael's, which is one of the big box craft stores near here. And I love yellow. Yellow is one of my favorite colors. And so when I saw these taupe, I am always looking, you're probably like me, I'm always looking at textiles thinking, can I stitch into this? So I just, out of the corner of my eye, saw these tote bags and thought, ooh, let me see if I can stitch into it. And the weave is so easy to see. My camera is terrible, so you probably won't see it clearly. But if I had a good quality camera and I held this up, you could probably also see the weave along with me. But anyway, so I'm using DMC 3807, and here's what it looks like so far. I love it. It's good fun to stitch. I finished up the border on it. Yay, it matched when I came around and the new side met with the old side. And then I started working a little bit on this motif down here. So let me see if I can hold up. There's the pattern, and there's what I have going on so far. So the thing you'll notice, of course, is that the pattern is square and mine is rectangular, and that's because the weave is a little off on this tote bag. So I don't mind it one bit. I think it looks great, and plus it'll be really easy to frame into an 8x10 frame afterwards, which is what I think I'm going to do. This tote bag is a little bit flimsy, so I don't know if I want to keep it as a tote bag. I'll probably cut it out and just frame it, put it on the wall. So, made a tiny bit of progress on that. Okay, next up, actually, hang on a second. I might have a huge, everything might tumble here, but I need to grab something I mentioned earlier. Here we go. Okay, so I have joined, early in March, I joined the group of Stitchers who are raising money for the Coalition to Stop Violence Against Native Women. And they're learning and sharing about missing and murdered Indigenous women. It's a prevalence in Indigenous communities that women experience violence far more than any other minority group, any other marginalized community. So, Coalition to Stop Violence Against Native Women is doing a lot of work at the policy level to help protect women in Indigenous communities. So, I joined the fundraiser. And I didn't share, I mean, I haven't been on Flosstube in 2 months, so you wouldn't have known. I didn't share it on Instagram because there are so many other stitchers, Alicia, Resist Stitch, Michelle Bendy, and there's a whole crew of stitchers who are already talking to the stitching community and raising money from the stitching community. So I only shared it on Facebook, and I'll share my link to my Facebook profile below so that you can see all of the posts related to MMIW. I've made them public. And I just thought, let me just tap for charity resource, like fundraising resources into a totally non-stitchy community. That way we're not all like getting money from the same people. So, I have family members and colleagues who've been donating, so I've set my goal to $1,000 and I've reached 600, which is not too shabby. I have to try. We're down to the last few days here, so I try to see if I can drum up a little bit more interest. But I hardly post anything on Facebook except for these craftivism fundraisers, but it is kind of nice because I have a few non-stitchy people on there that it reaches, and a couple in particular who actually then share out, like they email their entire contact list and share out my stuff with their contacts, which is really, I have a couple of friends who do that, which is really nice. So I pledged to stitch on while fundraising. I also share, reason why you might be interested in my Facebook posts is that I've been trying to also share resources, because when I participate in MMIW, I try to learn about Indigenous resources too. So I've created posts to share with people, podcasts, books, an art exhibit, different things that are about North American Indigenous communities. So you can go check that out too if you're interested. For stitching, I wanted to stitch on 2 pieces. My Palestine, I have a huge piece that's a compilation of all different designs by Palestinian stitchers and Palestinian allies, and then also an actual stitch related to an Indigenous people, which is this first one I'll show you. This is Temple of the Sun and Moon, and it's by, also known as I Apayek, and it's by Ana Aguayo, who is Peruvian Flair on Etsy, a dear person and friend. And so this is their pattern. So I had actually started, this was a restart because I had started it on this, remember this fabric with the Be Mine on it? It's Primitive Hair Ancient Stones. And I had started it here, as you can see. It's a 30 count fabric, and I was stitching 2 strands over 2 on it. However, when I picked it up, it's been a couple years again since I looked at this. When I picked it up to work on it this time around for MMIW, I noticed that there's a huge error. Like something happened here that's off, and then like everything here is off. So I thought, I don't want to start with a huge frog, and I hate to frog on linen too. I don't want to destroy the fabric. So instead I said, you know what? I'm loving stitching 1 over 1 on this fabric. So let's try it 1 over 1. It'll create a much smaller pattern, which will be easier to frame in the end. So here it is. So it's super tiny. I love that this ends up being kind of looking like a full coverage stitch right here. And it's going great. It's so easy to stitch on. So it'll probably finish around here. So it's just a much smaller pattern. So I'll keep that going. I'm using colors from Stash to kit it up. And I'm stitching 1 over 1. So there it is. So again, that's by Peruvian Flair. It's Ana Aguayo. She's Peruvian Flair on Etsy, and she's Ana Aguayo, Ana C. Aguayo on Instagram and on Flosstube. And so I'll share share their info below in case you're interested and want to pick that up. Anna researches pre-Columbian cultures from her native Peru, and so her patterns are inspired by pre-Columbian cultures and textiles that are found there. So this might be Incan, but I need to double check on that. So that's been a fun one to work on. And then my other MMIW craftivism stitching is for this huge piece that is a compilation of all different works by Palestinian stitchers and designers, but also by allies of Palestinian stitchers and stitching who are doing charity fundraisers and creating patterns for that. So let's see if I remember what everything is. This whole pattern here is by Deco Elian. It's from the January 2023 World of Cross Stitching magazine, and it's just kind of a sampler of all different Palestinian Tetris motifs. This up here, I think, is by Hib Stitches again, who's not Palestinian, but has been doing charity stitching for the community. This is by Tirazane Initiative. Cypress Pendant is what it's called. And this huge pattern here is the one I was working on this month. So this is by Lena's Thobe. Let me get a handle on it. Lena's Thobe, who is a Palestinian-American designer and cross-stitcher. And this is Lena's hanging, what's it called? Lena's wall hanging is what it's called. So it makes use of a whole bunch of different motifs from Palestinian cross. So Palestinian cross stitch is millennia old, like centuries and centuries old. And I'll link the article below. We're going so far back in history now. There's from early February, I want to say, Catherine from Neat and Not by the Sea. I love Catherine and Victoria's Flosstube. Catherine did a standalone episode where she interviewed two of her Palestinian heritage friends who then shared their entire collection of Palestinian stitching. They kind of did a little parade of all their stuff. It was amazing. And one of the things I learned is that Palestinian motifs traveled into Europe during the Crusades. So you'll find later on, medieval and beyond European styles used motifs that were found in ancient and like pre-Middle Age Middle Eastern, like Palestinian designs. So I'll link the art. There's someone who's doing research on that, and I'll link that article below that I got from Catherine and her friends. So, like this, for example, is a feather motif. This is a cypress tree. And then the cypress trees will go all along here and then down here as well. And then there are this feather motif gets repeated. These stripes from the feather get repeated. So this will be good fun to stitch. I'm enjoying it. But also this is a bit of a craftivism piece too, because every time I pick it up to stitch on any part of it, any of it, I'm donating to one of my causes, one of my Palestinian causes. Sometimes it's just a few bucks, a coffee's worth. Sometimes it's more substantial. It's whatever I can manage at the time. But I do feel like it's important not just to stitch, but to actually contribute to the communities that are struggling right now. So those have been my MMIW stitches. I need to share this one on Facebook. I haven't done that yet. This, I'll be working a little bit more on this, hopefully tonight when I stitch. I want to come back to this. It's really relaxing and repetitive pattern. And then the Deco Elian pattern, the border for it goes here. So Lena's hanging design, wall hanging pattern, actually, it's like this is really the center mark, and then this whole thing repeats on the other side. But as you can see, I'm just going to stitch it onto this line, and then, stitch as far as that gets, fill up this space with that pattern. This is on Be Stitch Me Hot Chocolate. It's a great neutral. I really like it. It's my current, one of my current fave neutrals. Everything looks good on it. And I'm using just 4 colors of DMC. I don't remember what they all are now. Let me see. 326 is this bright reddish pink. 902 is the brownish red. And then the greens, I don't remember. It's like 986, I think, and something else. But I'm using those same 4 colors for everything. So for example, the Deco Elian pattern is actually charted in a whole bunch of different colors, but I'm only using those 4. Hib Stitches was charted in black and white. Oh no, it had red for the watermelon as well. But I just repeated the same colors. So same colors on everything. Okay. I'm just gonna keep going. I'm gonna try to show you my new starts because I just been starting with no limits in sight. So let's just deal with it and look at it, okay? So first up is Azad. It's Maryam's pattern for Azad the unicorn. And this is on a Stitch Me 40 count fabric. It's a mystery fabric. I picked up some mystery fabrics last year. I tried my first and only Stitch Me Friday Night Fight Night. It's basically an online shopping experience. There are hundreds of fabrics posted on their Facebook page, and you just bid on the ones you want. So, and then you get billed for them. That's it. How it works. You just buy them online. It's a pop-up shop, an online pop-up shop for fabrics. So this one didn't have a name, so it's just a mystery fabric, but it reminds me a lot of Barnwood by Picture This Plus. It's a dark brown with some different tone, like orangey blue tones going on in the background. And I'm using DMC. Hold right there. Let me see what color this is. 3855. It's a really great kind of butter yellow. And so from far away, it looks kind of white, doesn't it? But it's actually got a tinge of yellow there. And I'm just using 1 strand, and it actually looks really great. I'm not used to using 1 strand over 2 on 40 count, but it's just working. I wonder if it's because sometimes on the darker dyed fabrics, they shrink a little, so it might actually not, it might have been a 40 count pre-dye, and then now it's a little bit even tighter weave. So the 1 over 2 looks just fine, don't you think? So this is the pattern on Azad's little bum, and then the legs are coming down here. I love it. It's a joy to stitch on. I'll definitely be coming back to that one. Okay, next up is a pattern by Sarah, my stitchy friend Sarah, who's Mod Cross on Etsy. And this is their pattern called Pins and Needles. And you're seeing a little bit of the font there and a little bit of a hand. The pattern is Frankenstein's monster, a real cute Frankenstein's monster, and it says Pins and Needles on it. And I'm just loving it. I don't know what I'm using. Oh, yes. Okay. Earlier today, I was cleaning up some of my stray flosses that I leave on the back of my couch, and there were 2 greens, and I thought, I'm using these 2 greens for something, and I don't know what it's for. This. It's for the Frankenstein's monster. Thank goodness I know what they are before I put them back in the big bag. I'm using DMC 310 for the font. So, talk about a stitchy 2 months. There were guild meetings, there was a guild retreat. I submitted the piece to Nan Exemplary. Needleminder, my Sarah, Maryam, Julie, and I recorded a Needleminders chat. That's on my Flosstube channel. You can see us talking about color if you enjoy talking about stitching in different colors. And I had a great surprise stitchy weekend with Sarah and her mom and sister. And it was just awesome. So Sarah's sister last year had contacted me and said, hey, it's a big birthday year. 2024 is a big birthday year for Sarah. I want to do a surprise weekend for her, and I want you to be part of the surprise. Come, and we stayed at Sarah's mom's place in the Quad Cities, and just stitched and chatted and ate, and it was really great. And so we kept it a surprise the whole time. She didn't know. I actually they were taking, her mom and sister were taking her to Stitch Me to shop on a Saturday morning, and so I arrived there, and that's where I surprised her. So Sarah actually picked up a fabric for me. So this is Smashing by Stitch Me. It's a 20 count, and there you go. That's the actual color. Bright, bright, bright orange. I love it. I love oranges and yellows. I love bright colors. So Sarah, you know me. When you know me, you know me. And so I thought, oh, this is perfect. I want to stitch Sarah's pattern on it. So pins and needles is so cute. And I can't wait to get back to it. Just look at that little hand. Very, very, very sweet. So this is actually, can I show you what else? I feel like I was the one that was spoiled on that weekend because first of all, they are all so fun and funny to spend time with. Needle minders, I think we need to have a get together where we invite them to join us because they are just a hoot. They're really good fun to spend time with. And then I like put my stuff in the room where I was going to be sleeping, and on the bed was made all nicely, and look at what was laying on it. Project bag. Sarah's mom made all of us project bags for the weekend. Is that not the nicest thing? And we were calling it for fun. We were calling it Sarah's Stitchabration instead of celebration. Stitchabration celebrating Sarah. And March 2024, it says. Is that not the coolest? And Sarah's mom, I could not remember this, but so last year when I was driving through Iowa, Steve did Ragbri, which is the ride across Iowa. So when we were in Iowa, I actually got to see Sarah's mom and sister. We had ice cream and hung out before like a huge storm came through and we all had to split. But I had picked up during my kind of grand tour of quilt shops in Iowa, I had picked up, I think, some fabric and pattern. I don't remember what I had picked up, but anyway, I had gifted some stuff to Sarah's mom and sister. So I think Sarah's mom said this is from one of those patterns that I got for them, and using some of the fabric too, maybe. So it's really beautiful. And then Sarah's sister made us just this cute little notions bag. Oh, it's a darn thing. I won't get my It's going to show too washed out, but do you see it? It's so cute. I mean, how hard would it be to sew a circle and then put a zipper? That seems really hard to me, but it's just so cute. It has a different print fabric on the inside. So these things were just laying on the bed, and I thought, oh my gosh, this is just so nice. So cute. Let me show you that. Isn't that so pretty? Sarah's mom is like an expert quilter. There are quilts all over that house, and they're beautiful. And her mom was giving me a tour of her quilting space. And so we were looking at just like a museum worth of quilts, right? So many beautiful, everyone more beautiful than the next one. And she does a lot of charity quilting. One of her quilt shops collects quilts for the Linus Project, which is like donated quilts for kids. Oh, help me remember, because I think Linus Project is it kids with terminal illnesses maybe, or there's something like that. But anyway, she's laying out all these beautiful quilts, and she's like, yeah, sometimes I feel kind of self-conscious to take these into the quilt shop where people are really good at stitching. I'm just like, oh my gosh, serious. Hers are just so good. They're beautiful too, so we all have our minor insecurities about our craft, don't we? So anyway, that was a lovely weekend. I went to Be Stitch Me and bought nothing. How about that? And then I would like to tell you that I'm still on a no-buy till July. Jerica, I broke it. I bought those darn Hathaway stitchers. I was watching their latest Flosstube, and they had shown some patterns. They used patterns they had picked up based on Charlie Harper artwork. Everybody if you're an American, you're into the arts, you've probably seen his artwork. It's like these nature pictures, usually with animals and trees, and they're super geometric. They're like geometric representations of things in nature. Thanks a lot, Hathaway Stitchers. So that broke my no-buy. But at least while I was at Be Stitch Me, I didn't get anything, so. Okay, next up, we're revisiting D again. This is the March installment of Stitch for Pride 2024, and this is a tribute to artist Stephanie Shi, who is a Taiwanese American artist who makes ceramics of objects that are from Asian American culture. A lot of them are food related, but not all of them. So like, for example, a ceramic sculpture of a sriracha bottle, because it's something like if you're Asian American, in different Asian American communities, there's certain things you look at and you're like, oh yeah, my family used that. We had that. It was on the table every day, that kind of thing. So she chooses everyday objects that are from the Asian diaspora, pan-Asian, from all different Asian communities, and makes sculptures out of them. Not necessarily food. Like, I was looking on their website, and I saw like payphone. I saw a sculpture of a payphone. I saw a sculpture of like Reebok sneakers, just like different, a Wonder Bread. So not necessarily just Asian American, but American. There's an emphasis on the American part of it too, because we have a mixture of two cultures. So I am doing this pattern, well, just this one bottle is the pattern, but for some reason I cannot stop stitching multiples of all of these patterns. They've just been on a roll and I love all of them. So I'm doing 3 bottles. So I researched the original, the official Sriracha brand to see what color other sauces they have. And so there's a bright red and like an orangey red. So that's what's going on here. So the green bottle cap is DMC 700. This dark red sauce is Gentle Arts Mulberry, which I think I'm now going to be in a pickle because I think I'm almost done with one skein, and I think it's going to take me more than one skein to do it. So now I'm going to have to track down. It's fine. I'll track down another mulberry. I don't know if it'll be in the same color. It won't be in the same. I don't know when I got my first mulberry, so whatever. Dye lots might be different. We'll just go with it. This is DMC 666. This is Stitchy Stuff Co. It's Pumpkin Pie is the color. So once again, I don't know what I'm going to do when I run out of that. I'll have to see. And I don't know if you'll be able to see it, but I'm kind of using the same approach with the variegated thread. This mulberry is variegated, and you can actually see, when I'm looking at it here, I can see the difference. There's sort of a light reddish brown and a dark reddish brown in the same skein. So I'm doing the same technique I used on We Go On, which is I'm doing kind of a few stitches one direction, a few stitches back. I'm paintbrushing it, a few stitches back and forth to create kind of a mottled look instead of a stripy look. And then I'm doing the same on the Stitchy Stuff Co. is also a dark and light variegated. DMC 666 will be a single color, so that'll be easy to just kind of go. I can go back and forth in rows and do that. Fabric. It looks like a Bee Stitch Me. I think it might be oat. I'm not sure. I didn't write down which fabric this is. Let me see. I don't have the label, so I think it's a Bee. It looks like a Bee Stitch Me to me. I think it's everything looks so washed out all the time. There you go. That's fun. It's been a fun one to work on. Definitely gonna keep that going. Okay. Next up is Yalda to Nowruz. This is Maryam's band sampler that has been taking us from winter solstice to spring equinox. Every couple of weeks they put out new bands. You can look at who finished this recently. Amy Graham. On their Instagram page, you can see a beautiful finished one. Sarah Modcross is making great progress on theirs and posted some really nice pictures recently, so you can see what it looks like. So I have done some experiments, which I'm starting to realize I do a lot. I feel like if you've been watching me on Flosstube for a long time, it'll feel like I start a project and then change it up all the time. I'm going to stop calling them starts and start calling them experiments, because I think that's what I do. I just feel like it takes me a few tries to play around with fabric and floss combinations stitched up before I settle on something I really like. So I've been playing around. I've been doing some experiments with Yalda to Nowruz. So here's Back to Ancient Stones, primitive hair fabric. I did a little bit of 1/1 on this, and I like it. That looks pretty good so far. So that's the top border, the border that comes all around Yalda to Nowruz, and then the first band. And then I also experimented with some color. So, feels amazing, but it's 1/1. I thought, what if I fill in the entire band sampler with these 3 colors? So I played around with that a little bit. I love the concept. and the stitching was very comfortable. The problem is the colors I chose are all kind of medium tones, so they wash out. Like, the pattern is not really easy to see in there. You can kind of see it when I hold it up close. But like this, you can't really see. The pink and purple, they're just too similar in tone. So I need to, if I redo this, Yalda to Nowruz, and I want to fill in the intent, make it a full coverage piece, then I'm going to have to choose some really, really different tones of color to make that work. So that was a fun experiment, though. I loved seeing it come along to see what would happen with that. Okay, so then we got the last installment of Yalda to Nowruz, and this darn Maryam, what has she done? She included a free border in the last installment that makes where you can take any individual band from the entire band sampler and make it a standalone piece. It comes with a border, so you can like plug in whichever band you want, stitch that border, and make it as small. So I was like, oh, that's what I want to do. So I started them. So I don't know what this fabric is. I have no clue. I'll have to look it up. You know what it is? I have all of my Flosstube notes are in a journal. 2 journals now. I'm almost done with my second journal. And what I really need to do is document all of it in a Google Doc or something, because I start so many I do so many experiments that so like this project, I was actually stitching Talavera. It's a Fox and Rabbit, one of the old annual stitch-alongs, which I de-kitted. So when I look up the notes for whenever I started this or restarted this, I'll know what fabric this is, but whatever. It could be Gingerbread by Picture This Plus, but I'm not 100% sure. Anyway, Yalda to Nowruz. So this outer border here is with Sulky 1230. It's dark teal, isn't it great? And it stands up great on this neutral fabric. This, actually, you're not going to be able to tell. I'm using the band that has, is it tulips? There's a floral band, which is the band I'm using. That's actually a pale purple. It's hard to see on camera right now. It's DMC 3747. And it just looks white from far away, doesn't it? But I kind of feel like it's so fitting for a spring-related pattern, because there are so many of those kind of pale, off-white, off-pink, kind of pale colors in spring flowers, too. So that's what I'm using. And there's another motif that's within each of these boxes, and I'm thinking of using this same 3747 in there. So there'll be a repeat of that color. So got a good start to that. I really like this. I love that there's the standalone border, and it's a really easy border to stitch. And because it's using Sulky, it works up really fast too. The DMC, I'm using 2 strands over one. I think this is an 18 count. It looks like an 18 count Ada. I did a bunch of, you're seeing all these threads sticking out here. I did a bunch of test stitching of different colors there to try to see which colors I might want to use, but so many of the colors looked washed out on this fabric, so I settled on this one. So if you didn't get to join the stitch along, I better check with Maryam to see how to join now. I mean, the stitch along is over, but I think you can get the pattern now with all the bands as like a single pattern. I think that's what's going on. I have another Yalda to Nowruz experiment, and that's a bookmark. So this is using just one band from the sampler, and I'm trying to see if I can turn it into a bookmark and then mat them onto my wooden bookmarks that I've shown in my last video. This is using a Cosmo 168. It's basically like a DMC 336, really. It's like a navy blue. So we'll keep that going. I had to start and restart this so many times. I just kept making mistakes. This is my second or third restart of this bookmark, but I think I've now got it. I hope. So we'll see. I'll try to see if I can finish this for next time. You can see what it looks like on a bookmark. Okay. What else? Oh, at the retreat of my local chapter of the Embroiderers Guild of America, the Windy City chapter. They do a stash unload sale with the proceeds going back to the chapter for ongoing like to invite speakers to come, to do charitable projects and all kinds of stuff. The guild does a whole bunch of different projects. So people can bring items that they want sold. They also sell items that are donated from previous members who've passed away, and their entire stash gets donated to the guild. They sell all those items, and so the money goes back into the guild. So there are unbelievable deals to be had at this stash sale. We found patterns for like $1. I know Maryam picked up like some kitted up projects for like $6, and books were $2. So I picked up this book, Selbu Mittens. And why did I look at this? Well, first of all, look at this cover photo with all these geometric patterns in black. That's a DMC 310 lover's dream right there. And this had come basically the same day that Jacob put out his pattern. He has that pattern. Is it like Knock Your Socks Off or something? But it's basically that it's a cross-stitch pattern that's based on knitted textiles from Scandinavia somewhere. So I'm flipping through this book, and it's on Norwegian knitting. So I'm like, oh, this is beautiful. Well, guess what? I'll just show one page because I don't want to give away all the patterns or charts. Every single page has charts that are really for knitting, but they're charted to look like cross-stitch charts, right? Anybody can use these. So like, I'll just do like a chart after chart. There's a lot of illustrations, but look at it. Chart, a whole bunch of charts. So I recommend this book. I'm actually stitching something from it. So what did I do with it? Oh, hang on a sec. I picked a page that had some different patterns on it, and I'm stitching them all into one piece. So it looks like this so far. So there are 1, 2, 3, and 4 different grids. It's actually a page full of like 8 grids, but I picked 4 that I like the best. And I'm stitching them just onto one piece to make just one geometric piece. And so I'm using Cosmo 226, which is a beautiful red. It's like a beautiful purpley red. A deep, deep raspberry red. Very nice. Cosmo color 226. I had experimented way over here. You can see in one of my experiments for Here Be Dragons, which I actually I might do one of the other Here Be Whatevers with that combo. It looks nice. But anyway, yeah, so it's turning out pretty okay. It's very relaxing stitching, and I'm loving it. I feel like this was such a treasure of a find, Selbu Mittens, and all of the knitters out there. I bet you'll love this too, because there's the cool thing about it actually is that it has little profiles of the people who, let me find one and I'll show you. So I'll hold this real far back. I don't want to show too many patterns from this. So there's a photo of a person who owned some of these mittens, and this is a knitter. And so this one, for example, this is actually a guy who knitted this, Martin Jorgensen, and it has a little profile on Martin, and then it has the pattern for something that he knitted that's in his collection in a museum, like his work is in a museum. So it's got a lot of biographical info about like people who actually knitted this stuff. This thing is full of talking about motifs that are from Palestine. There's a whole bunch of Bethlehem stars, like the birds in love. Now that when you start learning about Palestinian motifs, you see them everywhere. They definitely traveled to this part of the world too. Feather. I'm looking at the feather motif right now. Anyway, very good find, and a good way to help support our guild too. I picked up patterns. I found a couple patterns, old Halloween patterns by Birds of a Feather. That was a good find. So yeah, that was fun to see, and also just kind of interesting to go through a stitcher's stash to see what they were interested in. Kind of cool to see the different variety of projects that people are into, you know. We're approaching the end. This is random, but it's a project bag from my mom. My mom made me a project bag. So I wanted her to make me one. I wanted her to make me one that could hold both cross stitch and crochet. So she didn't put any lining or anything in it, which was even easier for her. She made it in like just a half hour or something. My mom had her sewing machine serviced. It hadn't been serviced in probably 20 years. It's a really old machine. And now she's like, it's so quiet. It runs so great. So she's back to stitching a lot more. So she made me a little bag. I love that bag. Okay, next up, that Maryam, she kitted up for us her latest project, which is Bahar. And so I started it. So this is on Be Stitch Me. The color is Willow. There we go. Be Stitch Me Willow. And it works up really fast. Did I get 18 or 20? I think I got 18 count. So when we were at Be Stitch Me for Sarah, Maryam messaged, I'm waiting in the car, waiting for Sarah's sister to let me know it's go time. So I'm waiting in the car and Maryam is messaging me. She's like shared this pattern with us the day before and we were all just like drooling over it. And then Maryam said, while you're at Be Stitch Me, find fabrics for all four of us. I want to kit up Bahar for all four of us. So Maryam sent us the DMC, the full DMC color palette, and then we had each picked out fabrics from Be Stitch Me that she got for us. So this is Willow. It's a nice neutral, and I think she's so sweet. I love what's going on. I love the blue in her top here. I don't remember what this blue is in DMC. I should know. It's not 320. I don't remember. It's that beautiful cornflower blue. So pretty. I love this because it's got like spring flowers, a tree with flowers all over it. It's just a beautiful springy pattern. So thanks, Maryam. This has been 2 months full of stitchy kindness. I feel super grateful for all of that. Okay, next up, I started another new pattern. Ana Aguayo Peruvian Flare came up with a brand new pattern. It's really great. It's called, hang on, Shipibo textile. And this is again kind of based on a pre-Columbian textile from what is now Peru. There we go. Are you able to see that? So it's got a beautiful geometric repeating pattern, and I'm stitching it 1/1 on 28 count, all natural or raw natural linen. It's just as Weigart linen, but I'm using, this is Brin & Needle. It's Stranger Things, and it's actually the skein of floss that came with my We Go On. When I ordered We Go On, it came with a floss. So that's that one. But I was afraid that it wouldn't be enough for We Go On to finish that because there's so much fill-in negative stitching on that. So I had set it aside and now I'm using it for this. There's DMC 3808 teal, and then there's DMC 798, which is the same blue that I'm using on Here Be Dragons. So I'm loving it. I think it's so pretty. There we go. There's a better view of it for you. So it'll be kind of repeating swirls and flowers, kind of like this. It looks like a tile almost. And I'm enjoying it. It's a beautiful pattern, Anna. We're excited to stitch on it. Okay, last one. Is it really? It is. And then I have 2 plans and then that's it. We're calling it a day. Okay, so this is, I really wanted this to be a start and finish from this week, a SAF, but I just couldn't get it done. I'm holding it upside down again. Hold on. So I don't actually know what this pattern is called, but it's by Jan Hicks and it's part of a series and it's in the new Punch Needle and Primitive Stitcher, the spring 2024 issue. So I have a subscription it's a 2-year subscription that started last winter, I think. So I think it's up this winter. Not last winter, the winter before, 2 winters ago. So, to be honest, I don't know if I'll renew it because There's not a whole lot in Punch Needle and Primitive Stitcher that appeals to me, although I'll say this spring issue has had several patterns that I've been looking at because they're not most of the patterns that come out there are just for, it's really for prim stitchers if you like that style, kind of Americana and prim, then it's for you. And I just don't really do that kind of stitching, so... but this is not that. This is very bright colors and very different. So Jan Hicks is doing this series, and I just thought, let me kit it up from stash. I used the bag, the big bag of flosses, pulled some different colors. This is a combination of Cosmo and DMC, and I'm really enjoying it. It's so close to being done. I really wanted to try to get it done. I have to finish this butterfly, the 2 bottom wings. There are some purple flowers and a little bit more green that comes in here. And then finishing out these 2 paisleys, the green paisleys and a little bit in there. So I'm enjoying it. I'm going to see if I can try to make this into a pillow. That's the plan. So we'll see how that goes. Can that really be it? That was a lot. When I wait 2 months to do a floss tube, it all piles up. And then I did start a lot of projects too, so they've just today when I was taking notes and going through my files, I just thought, oh yeah, there's that one, now there's that one, this might as well be a whip parade. So I was gonna add on a garden talk to this, but I'm beat. I'm gonna go clean up all this stuff, so I'm leaning towards, oh no, let's talk plans. Sunday is Trans Day of Visibility, March 31st. So I'll definitely be stitching on some of I have plenty of Dee's patterns to be working on. And also it's a day for just amplifying voices. Trans Day of Visibility, increasing visibility of trans voices. So I'll be sharing some resources on Instagram and trying to find some things to share with my people too. In my personal circles, try to have conversations about it. I really like, have you been following Alok Menon, who is trans feminine and has been posts the most inspiring things. They're on a tour right now, and they're not coming to Chicago. I wish they were coming to Chicago. I'd love to hear them speak in person, but there are a lot of clips shared of just inspirational things about identity and feeling comfortable in your own skin. And I think it's great. I'll be sharing a lot of Alok's videos on that day. Also, Stitch Along alert. Are you ready? So I am starting a sale with Amy, Fantastic Amy Graham on Instagram, and we're starting it this summer, and it's called the Monarch Watch Sale. Monarch Watch Sale. We both are monarch butterfly enthusiasts. I'm hoping some more will come back in the garden this year, and what we're asking for folks, if they want to join in, we're going to be stitching on 2 my hair's all messy. 2 patterns they just came out in the Nashville Needlework Market, and they both have monarchs on them, and they're both beautiful. One is Dirty Annie. Dirty Annie is the designer, and it's Monarch. It's just Monarch is what it's called. And then Silver Creek Samplers has one that's called Wings of Change. So we're going to be working on both of those. Amy already has some ideas for Amy's color fabric floss combos are amazing, so it'll be a really great project. I have no idea yet. I'm not going to get the patterns till this summer, so we're starting probably August because Maryam and I want to visit our local needlework shop, Black Cat Stitchery, in probably late July, so that's when I'll be kitting it up. So if you'd like to join us, Monarch Watch Sale, and also be thinking about planting some milkweed to give those monarchs a little home. If you have if you have milkweed, I don't know if you're familiar with it. This is all I'm doing for garden talk. Milkweed, if you're not familiar with it, it grows straight up. It's a tall, skinny plant, and it grows about 3.5 to 4 feet, a little bit less than that, maybe 3 to 4 feet, let's say. And so if you don't have a lot of space, if you have like a square foot of space, you could grow a milkweed, and that's the plant that monarchs need to survive. Basically, that is the only plant they use to survive. So think about planting a little milkweed and stitch along with us this summer. We'll give you more as the date approaches. We'll tell you more about that. Okay, that's it. I'm calling it a day. Everybody, stay active, stay part of the change, speak up, it's really exhausting and frustrating, but we keep trying because change is a process. It takes time. Keep stitching, keep finding joy. The, two quotes that have been staying with me are joy is radical resistance. I love that. And also I keep coming back to Angela Davis quote, you have to act as if it were possible to radically change the world, and you have to do it all the time. So let's keep that mindset going. Anything else? Last thing, I'll share a video link below of a really great chat with Omkari Williams, and she writes about activism for introverts, and it's a really good discussion. You can listen to that. And okay, I'm leaving you here. I'm gonna go edit this thing, and I hope you all are doing okay. And next video probably won't be till the end of May. I'm trying to wait until 3-day week, until I have longer weekends to make these floss tubes. So probably end of May over Memorial Day weekend. I'll catch up with you again. But I'm on Instagram. I love hearing from you, and then you can leave me comments and I'll respond to your comments, and you can find me that way too. Okay, more soon. I'll talk to you soon. Have a good day. Bye.